Hello everybody, welcome back with another video. Today, before we start the video, let me correct myself. Last video, I told you guys, maybe I asked you guys if you guys want me to react to a video that I saw that says, what if the Philippines became an empire? And someone actually wanted to, so I just wanted to do it. But I was wrong. The video that I saw wasn't really named "What if Philippines became an empire?" It's actually Alternate History, The New Sunrise, the Philippines Alternate History collaboration with Mansour Z. Oh god. So yes. So if you don't know what the subject is, it's an alternate history. What if Spain developed the Philippines? And yes, they didn't make the Philippines an empire, but what if they developed it? So I saw another video that is made by Mansour Z. What if the Philippines is a British colony? And I was like, do I want to react to this or this one? But I wanted to react to this one because, you know, this was the video that I saw. The thumbnail is the same. So yeah. So like and subscribe everybody. Let's get right to the video. Okay, so first of all, I still have the coughs. I still have the sore throat, okay? I still have a toothache. I ate too much candy and I regretted that. So now I learned my lesson and I'm going to calm down by eating too much candy. So I'm gonna start my recording. And okay, so I'm recording. Hold on a minute. Here we go. The alternate history. Alternate history. The New Sunrise, the Philippines Alternate History collaboration with Mansour Z. So this is the guy that made the video about understanding fascism. It was the last reaction video. If you want to watch that, it's going to be in the description down below. And this video is going to be in the description down below. So I'm very excited. So yeah. I'm very sorry again. Okay, hold on. Whoa, calm down. Okay, let's go.
Hey. Before we get started, I just want to say that I'm not making this video. That's right, this is actually a collaboration with Mr. Z, a fellow alternate historian. He did a video on my channel and I did a video on his channel. So if you want to see my perspective on the alternate history, then check out his channel. Links in the description. Also, while both of us are using Spain's early investment in the Philippines as a divergence point, we have a second divergence point of the 7 Years' War. I did if Britain took over the Philippines during the war and then became a British colony, and he did if Spain kept it after the war, which is what you're watching now. So sit back, relax, and remember to check out Mr. Z's channel. Without further ado,
the 7 Years' War.
Hello audience, Mr. Z here, filling in for Simon, who's over on my channel right now. And since we both discuss alternate history, well, figured a crossover was only a matter of time. Today's subject, the Philippines, a fairly innocuous location, and frankly a small player in world history. We will be exploring exactly what might have been had these strategic islands been developed by the Spanish following their discovery. Perhaps Spain saw the advantage of a backdoor route to their colonies in the Americas, and went on to invest in and establish numerous shipping and naval ports from which it would be able to interact with the Americas and—
Hold on. Look at this. This is Spain over here. And Spain controls this huge chunk of the whole world, and Portugal controls like just a little lands. They have lands in India, they have in Africa, they have obviously in the Pacific. We learned about this in our video about imperialism, and a huge chunk of Brazil. Only the outer part though. So yeah, that is huge, because look at that. Spain controls this. Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica over here. This is the Bahamas. This is the Dominican Republic. I forgot the countries over here: Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, Guatemala. There's obviously this is Mexico. So yeah, and they even owned Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, Peru. Over here maybe it's some part of Chile, and some part of half of Argentina. Over here is they own Uruguay and Bolivia and Paraguay. So yeah, and the Philippines too. I forgot about that. And some part of Spain and Italy and what's this? Is this Belgium and the Netherlands? Oh God. It's huge. The Spanish Empire is huge.
Spain saw the advantage of a backdoor route to their colonies in the Americas and went on to invest in and establish numerous shipping and naval ports from which it would be able to interact with the Americas and initiate trade with China. Following the 7 Years' War, the Spanish Empire is battered and gradually losing its grasp upon its colonies, the Philippines more so than the others, as its developed businesses and local governments were forced to exert greater autonomy to keep things running more smoothly, at the same time maintaining fairly close ties with Spain and still recognizing itself as a Spanish colony despite the heightened self-governance. Spain, however, saw this as a threat and would soon overstep its boundaries in taxing the islands to help the empire recover post-war. Having faced significant losses and being a shadow of its former self, Spain isn't able to exert much if any forceful control over the islands following resistance to Spanish taxation by plantation owners and businessmen who were just barely keeping the colony's economy stable. The growing hostilities of the Spanish crown, paired with their inability to cooperate with the needs of the colony, would lead to mass disobedience and ultimately a declaration of independence following the American Revolution. The Spanish would retaliate, but the islanders and Spanish colonists would stand their ground and utilize the significant local naval bases to fend off the empire's attacks and ultimately secure their sovereignty.
First of all, yes, the Filipinos fought amazingly, and they're the brave men that fought in this independence are very good. I learned some of them in some books that Grandma owns, but because of America intervening in this fight for independence, and because of that, they beat in Spain, but colonized the Philippines, and my power just oh good moly, okay.
The new island nation would shift its focus from the European affairs of Spain to more local matters, trade with China, attempts to reach out to Japan and Korea, as well as growing conflicts with a certain orange presence within Indonesia, motivating the new nation to expand and further strengthen their navy. By the mid-1800s, we would see the beginning of large-scale conflict between the Philippines and the Dutch presence in Indonesia.
Yeah, okay, cause yeah, it's the Netherlands. Oh yeah, imagine. Wow, the Netherlands own like all of Indonesia, all of it. This small country over here owns Indonesia. Wow, that's amazing. But to be honest with you, the Philippines, if Spain developed the Philippines would be an amazing spot and a strategic land. And it's a good for trade. You can trade to China, Japan, or Korea, Indonesia, like Malaysia, Vietnam. Like you can trade, but they didn't develop it, and we don't know what all happened. Yeah.
All the while, the Chinese Empire is quickly losing authority over its own country, and Japan is soon forced out of its isolation. By the early 20th century, the Philippines and Japan had developed a mutually beneficial partnership in competition with both China, but more specifically, the Western powers, as massive modernization programs and developments in naval technology are made to protect the independence of both their nations during the scramble for Asia. This partnership would bring the two island nations closer together over the years, pursuing numerous cooperative ventures and even establishing a military pact in 1920.
Like the Philippines and America, like the Philippines and America became like buddies, and we all, because America helped the Philippines get rid of the Japanese in what year was it? 1945, was it? I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay, coming back. I see that like an isolist. Okay, I'm sorry. Japan and the Philippines, if an alternate history, yeah, I see it them being like buddies, like good friends, and military pact, yes, and aggression. And I see the Philippines improving naval because the Philippines are made of islands, and imagine having a weak naval fleet while the other countries have some strong naval. Like imagine that, and a country made out of islands doesn't have a strong naval fleet. That's disappointing. But I see that.
Following growing Japanese ambitions for expansion in the wake of World War I. Likewise, the Philippines would also seek to expand further into Dutch Indonesia after observing a diminishing military presence within the islands.
Imperialism. We all love them. Okay.
Philippines, just as Japan, would grow incredibly ambitious and disconnected from the European powers, asserting that the Pacific was their territory, and the forces of Europe ought not meddle in Asian affairs. This world would see a far weaker China divided into sectors of occupation by Britain, France, Japan, and the Kuomintang. Because of China's decreased presence on the world stage, the anti-Comintern Pact is focused more toward the Asian powers of Japan and the Philippines, rather than Japan and the Kuomintang as originally intended.
Oh, okay. I kind of see that. Knowing that now they're allies, I see that they're not going to be allies with Nazi Germany because they have an ally that is close to them, and it's the Philippines. So we don't care about Germany now. We're just going to have a nearby ally that can help us. And look at this. So imagine, I know this is an alternate history, but if you're wondering, the countries over here is actually, this is Brunei, and over here this is some part of Malaysia, and some part of Indonesia, right? Yeah, there's some part of Indonesia. Like, wow. Like Brunei has some oil, and knowing that in World War II oil is really needed because there's tanks, there's machines, like even guns needs oil. And yeah, wow, look at that. Like Japan taking Manchuria, and yeah, this is Indochina, and this is Thailand. Okay.
China's decreased presence on the world stage, the anti-Comintern Pact is focused more toward the Asian powers of Japan and the Philippines, rather than Japan and the Kuomintang as originally intended. This would set the stage for the Philippines to eventually join the Axis powers, operating as what would essentially be a second Japan do.
Okay. Nah. Okay, the Philippines. Okay, hold on. If this is real, damn. The Philippines. Okay, this is Papua New Guinea, right? This is Papua New Guinea. This is East Timor, and like, you know what? I see that. I kind of see that, knowing that they're great allies with Japan, and Japan has this guy named Hideki Tojo. We all love him, and we all know his ally over here, Nazi Germany, and oh look, it's Switzerland. And oh yeah, this is the time when Italy actually collapsed and declared war on Germany. Yeah, I forgot about that. I want to learn more about World War II. I'm really focused on the Pacific War because, I'm kind of biased towards the Pacific War because the Philippines is in the Pacific War, so yeah.
What would essentially be a second Japan due south. This time around, the War in the Pacific sees far more involvement from Britain and its local allies, most notably Dutch Indonesia, which, over the past few decades, had seen constant conflict and invasion by Philippine forces. China would fall to the Japanese far quicker as its already crippled state.
Hold on, wait. Let's see. This is the British territory, and okay. So now I'm sorry. I'm very interested in looking at the map if the Philippines became like the second Japan, but in Japan the south. So now in this map it shows the Philippines owning whole Malaysia, having Brunei and East Timor and some part of is this Papua Guinea? Oh, this is some part of Indonesia, not Papua Guinea is over here.
Dutch Indonesia, which over the past few decades had seen constant conflict and invasion by Philippine forces.
Yo, imagine that. Whoa, the Philippines invading territories of like the Dutch, like the British, and maybe America, like in Spain. Like that is so amazing to hear that. I want more, please. Too biased.
China would fall to the Japanese far quicker as its already crippled state was put under further pressure by a Philippine invasion from the south. The next phase for the two Pacific powers would be a Philippine invasion of North Australia.
Hold on a minute. Okay, I don't know. Okay, let's go back here. Oops, I'm sorry.
Invasion from the south. The next phase.
Okay, the next phase. This is the next phase. So now they have owned like some part of. Okay, this is not whole Indonesia because they lost like lands over here. Maybe like let's say rebels and kicked out Philippine forces. So the Philippines just thought, you know what? I'm just going to invade this part of Indonesia. Now they own Indonesia, and they're now in northern Australia. Oh look, it's Sri Lanka. Okay, now the Philippines own Sri Lanka now. Now the Philippines is so close to India. I don't know if that's a good plan. Is it a good plan invading Australia? Australia is a huge country, by the way. This is even though in maps if you look, it's not really that big, but it's huge. It's huge. I don't know. Maybe I swear the Philippines might actually regret this. They're gonna regret this, maybe. For my theory, and this is just alternate history. For me, it's not. They're gonna regret this because this is a huge country, and you know there's animals there that is more scarier than animals in the Philippines. So yeah. Emus! The emus! The emus. Not the emus. What the hell?
The two Pacific powers would be a Philippine invasion of North Australia and a Japanese push into British India, liberating numerous anti-British prisoners and initiating an Indian revolution to further strain the British war effort.
Okay, now... Okay, this is the revolution, Indian revolution. Now look at this. Now, Indonesia got their independence, or maybe fought like a revolution. Now Australia owns this. Now the Philippines lost this, but the Philippines owns Thailand and Cambodia. And Indonesia, come the hell down. Come the hell down, bro. And they lost Sri Lanka. Okay.
All the while, the Dutch and Australians managed to push back the invading fleets and slowly capture the Philippine Islands. The absolute extent of conflicts within the Pacific, a Pearl Harbor-style attack, would become very unlikely, especially once the Soviets began launching increasingly more successful assaults against the Japanese. The war in the Pacific would come to a calm close eventually, with Philippines and Dutch governments signing a peace agreement and finalization of borders, following the restoration of Dutch authority within the formerly German-occupied territory. China and India would see the installment of new puppet regimes operating at the whim of the Japanese Empire. However, conflicts were far from over, as while Western Europe seemed fairly satisfied with this compromise, the Soviet Union, on the other hand, would continuously push through Japanese-occupied territory, pushing for the Japanese islands. Japanese forces would be continually exhausted by the sheer number of Soviet troops that were being thrown at their front. Likewise, a relentless invasion from the Soviet Union would continue to push through Germany. The question now is, who will come out on top? Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to both our channels for more. Mr. Z, out.
Wow. And this is amazing photo. This is like old Philippines. Wow. Okay. First of all, I wasn't expecting that, okay? I wasn't expecting the Philippines becoming like the South Japan. And I love Japan. I love Japan. It's beautiful, but the Pacific War, you know me. I always mention Hideki Tojo. Hey. Well, that was very interesting. And by the looks of it, the Philippines in the treaty, I know there's still conflicts, but in the treaty, they got some land in Indonesia. They owned Malaysia, they owned Singapore, they owned Brunei, they owned Thailand, and they owned Cambodia. That's a huge chunk. And the Soviets are, Jesus Christ. The Soviets is actually pushing. They took some part of Manchuria, they took Korea, and they pushed back the Germans. And yeah, there's still, conflicts, but I don't see the America coming to the Pacific because they weren't provoked. The only way they're gonna go down to the Pacific is if one of their allies was attacked. But by the looks of it, the US doesn't have allies there. The land is being owned by the Soviet Union. Yes, the Soviet Union was the allies, but after World War II, their relations soured a little bit and started the Cold War, and that's after World War II. But the Soviets, I don't know if they're gonna be allies with the US, if the US gonna help their Soviet Union, and they're not going to be like allies with Japan. The Philippines, I don't know. The Philippines might not be allies with the US, and Australia, no, because they're still a British colony. But I don't see the US helping the British by getting rid of the Filipinos in Australia. But it's alternate history. I just wanted to make theories, and I might actually see it. What if it's real? I see the Philippines like losing the lands because obviously they wanted their independence. But I see the Philippines becoming like I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's a monarch, but who's gonna be the monarch in the Philippines? That's gonna be interesting. I want to learn about that, guys. I want you to search in YouTube who would be the king or queen in the Philippines if what if they're not gonna be colonized. And I don't know, it's just very interesting. But in the future, what if it's like 2022? I see the Philippines still owning some part of Malaysia and some part of Indonesia, and just the upper parts. And I see they still own like Brunei. For Thailand and Cambodia, no, because after that, I might actually see like a Vietnam independence war, and I'll see them like fighting for their independence too. And the upper parts of Malaysia and Indonesia and Brunei might actually struggle getting their independence because knowing that the Philippines is now modernized. So I see them owning those land, and I see the Japan losing some lands, China, but still getting control in China. I just want to see what would the Cold War look like. Is it going to be between US versus Soviet? Because that's going to be, because the reason why the Cold War started, because of, you know, the communist spread of communism. And I don't know, would it be like Philippines or maybe Japan Cold War versus the Soviet Union, knowing that Japan is a very good ally with maybe Germany and the Philippines. But by the looks of that map, the Germany kind of won that war, even though the Soviets pushed them back. But I didn't know what year was it. But so yeah. So thank you for watching, everybody. I know it's 24-minute video, because even though it's just a 5-minute video, it's just very interesting to learn what if the Philippines industrialized and was developed by Spain. So yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. The next video, I have a plan. The next video, I'm going to post episode 0.4 of Kings and Generals Pacific War, and the next video is going to be 0.5 Pacific War. I don't know, because my birthday is coming and I want to like post a video and I might actually post like a Pacific War video, but I'll look into it. If my schedule was messed up, it's messed up. So thank you for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe. I love your support, so comment down below. So yeah, I know it's a long video. Okay, bye bye.